Title: He laughed when I cry. Now he says I overreacted when I tell this story. People either look at me with pity or with disbelief. I'm still not sure which reaction hurts more. I 26F had been dating Ethan 28 meters for almost a year. He was charming, funny, and had that kind of confidence that draws everyone in. He was the type of guy who could make a joke out of anything. And honestly, that's what first attracted me to him. Life with him felt lighter, easier. Until one night, his humor crossed a line I didn't even know existed until it shattered right in front of me. We were at his apartment. It was supposed to be one of those cozy nights. Takeout, a few glasses of wine, lazy kisses on the couch that turned into something more. Everything felt fine until it didn't. In the middle of it, he leaned close to my ear and whispered something that made my entire body freeze. I won't repeat exactly what he said, but it was a joke about forcing me. The kind of line that sounds like something out of a nightmare. I froze, my breath hitched, my skin went cold, and he laughed. He actually laughed. When he realized I wasn't laughing too, he said, "It was just a joke. Don't be so uptight." I got up immediately, shaking. My heart was pounding so loud it hurt my ears. I didn't even grab my things. I just left. He texted me a few hours later, confused. "You seriously mad at me over that? You know I'd never actually hurt you." The next morning, he called, saying he was worried about me. He said I was being dramatic, that I'd ruined the mood and made him feel like a monster for nothing. For 2 days, I didn't respond. I just tried to process it. Tried to figure out how something that felt so good could suddenly feel so unsafe. I replayed the moment in my head 100 times, wondering if maybe I had overreacted. But every time I remembered the way he laughed, my stomach turned. When I finally texted him, I said, "I can't be with someone who thinks scaring me is funny." He blew up. Told me I was throwing away a great thing over a bad joke, that I was being desensitive and immature. He even said, "If you can't take a joke, good luck finding someone who can deal with you." My friends are split. Some said I did the right thing, that jokes about that kind of thing are red flags, not humor. Others said maybe I should have talked it through, that everyone says dumb stuff sometimes, especially in the heat of the moment. The worst part, I keep wondering if Hez right, if I really did overreact, because I keep remembering the look on his face when I stood up, confusion, maybe a little guilt, but mostly annoyance, like I had done something wrong, like my fear was the problem. Since then, has texted me a few more times. "You're making this into something it's not. You'll regret this when you calm down. I thought you trusted me." But every message makes me feel sicker, because the truth is, in that moment, I didn't. And that's not something you can joke about. So now I'm here asking strangers for clarity because my mind keeps looping between fear and guilt. Aitah for dumping my boyfriend after he made a joke that scared me during sex. Continuation. The apology that wasn't an apology a week past. 7 full days of silence, confusion, and that gnawing ache in my stomach that felt like something between heartbreak and relief. I hadn't seen Ethan since that night. I hadn't responded to his texts or calls. I'd even muted his notifications because every time his name appeared on my screen, my pulse spiked like I was about to be hit by something heavy. Then, one Sunday morning, he showed up. I didn't expect it. I hadn't given him my new address, but I guess mutual friends had. He was standing outside my building with coffee and flowers. That same easy smile that once melted me. "Can we talk?" he said softly. "Please, just 5 minutes." Every part of me wanted to slam the door. But another part, the one that still remembered how his laugh used to sound, before it made my skin crawl, hesitated. So I stepped aside. He sat on my couch, looking so normal that it made me feel crazy. He apologized, or at least, he said the words. "I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable," he began. "It was a stupid joke. I didn't think it'd hit you that hard. I just thought we were comfortable enough to laugh about anything." He made it sound so small, so harmless, like the entire thing had been a misunderstanding. My misunderstanding. Then he said something that twisted my stomach. "You know, you kind of scared me too. I didn't know you'd react like that. I was starting to think you were looking for a reason to end things." That's when I realized this wasn't an apology. It was manipulation dressed as concern. He spent the next hour explaining why he did what he did, how humor is his coping mechanism, how he just wanted to make things playful. Then came the guilt trips. You know I've been through a lot. I can't lose you over something so stupid. You're the only one who understands me. Everyone jokes during sex, it's normal. I just sat there staring at the flowers. They were white lilies. My favorite, had remembered, and that made it worse, because it made me want to forgive him. But I didn't. Ethan, I said finally, if I tell you something you did made me feel unsafe. Your first reaction shouldn't be to explain why it wasn't a big deal. It should be to make sure I feel safe again. He sighed, not in guilt, but in frustration. So that's it. You're just going to throw us away. I nodded. I already did. He stared at me for a moment, his expression hardening like he'd flipped a switch. You'll regret this, he said quietly. You're too sensitive for this world. And then he left. The messages after for a few days, it was silent again. Then the text started. I miss you. I'm sorry. For real this time. I'm seeing a therapist. You were right. I need help. Please just talk to me. I didn't answer, but I read every single one. And then, as suddenly as they started, they change. You made me look like a monster to everyone. People are asking what happened. What am I supposed to say? You're lying about me, aren't you? I hadn't told anyone except my best friend, Mia. So if people were asking, it wasn't because of me. It was because he'd started talking. Mia told me later she'd run into one of his friends at a bar. Apparently, Ethan had been telling everyone that I freaked out because I couldn't take a joke, that I was emotionally unstable and always made him walk on eggshells. That was when something inside me broke, not the way it did that night with fear, but with anger. He wasn't sorry. He never had been. He was protecting his image. Not me. The betrayal beneath the surface. A few weeks later, I found out the truth. One night, Mia called me, voice shaking. You need to sit down for this. Ethan had started dating Tara, one of my acquaintances, someone who'd been at our parties, laughed at his jokes, and once told me I was lucky to have him. They'd been seeing each other barely a month after our breakup, and when I looked closer, at old messages, tagged photos, subtle things I hadn't noticed, I realized they'd probably been talking long before that night ever happened. That joke he made, it wasn't random. It was something Tara had once said. I remembered it from a conversation months ago. It hit me like ice water. Had recycled her words, said them to me, and thought I wouldn't notice. Suddenly everything made sense. The way he'd seemed distracted in the weeks leading up to that night. The sudden defensiveness. The late replies. The betrayal wasn't just in what he said. It was in the lies he built around it. The message I never sent. I wrote him a message once. A long one. I never sent it. It said, you taught me that cruelty doesn't always come in the form of shouting or hitting. Sometimes it wears a smile and calls itself love. Sometimes it laughs when you're scared and tells you that you're the problem. I deleted it after writing it. He didn't deserve to hear it. The healing months passed. I started therapy. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. I started seeing people differently. Slower, quieter, more carefully. Mia said I looked lighter one day, like I'd finally let go of something invisible. Maybe she was right, because I wasn't just letting go of Ethan. I was letting go of the idea that love meant tolerating discomfort, that forgiveness was the same as healing. The unexpected ending. 6 months later, I ran into him. He was at a cough, sitting across from Tara. They looked tense. He saw me before I saw him. His expression flickered between guilt and pride. He gave me a small nod, like we were old friends. I nodded back, not out of kindness, but closure. As I walked past, I heard Tara's voice. It's not funny, Ethan. Why would you say that? And then his laugh, that same one that had haunted me. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel fear or pain. I just felt pity, because I finally understood. He hadn't changed, and he probably never would. But I had. Epilogue. The return. It had been almost a year since I last saw Ethan at that car. A year since the flowers wilted on my kitchen counter, and I promised myself I'd never let someone like him touch my peace again. I'd moved cities by then, a small coastal town where no one knew me, where I could walk along the boardwalk and not be reminded of the places we used to go. Life wasn't perfect, but it was quiet, safe. Until one evening, when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. At first, I thought it was spam, but then I saw the message. Ethan. Hey, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but please read this. I stared at it for a long time. The sea outside my window was dark and heavy, the kind of blue that almost feels alive. I should have blocked him immediately, but I didn't. He sent another message. I'm in your city. I just need to talk. I'm not trying to get back together. I just owe you the truth. The truth. That word again. The one had always used when he wanted something from me. For hours, I wrestled with it. Curiosity and anger are a dangerous mix, and both were eating at me. So, against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him. Just one conversation, in public, nothing more. The meeting we met at a small cafe near the harbor. I chose the table by the window, where the light hit me just right, where I could see every movement in his eyes. When he walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked thinner, older, like someone who hadn't slept properly in months. There were faint lines around his mouth that hadn't been there before. He smiled when he saw me, but it didn't reach his eyes. You look good, he said quietly. You don't, I replied. He laughed a little at that, but I could tell it stung. We sat in silence for a while, the kind that stretches between two people who have nothing left to say but everything left unsaid. Then he started talking. I messed up, he said. Not just with you. With everything. I hurt you because I didn't know how to deal with my own insecurities. I thought being in control made me strong. It didn't. It just made me cruel. I didn't respond. I let him talk. Tara left, he continued after a moment. She said I made her feel small. Said I reminded her of me with you. There it was. The irony I'd been expecting had created his own mirror image of pain, and it had finally reflected back at him. I wanted to say I'm sorry, he said. Not because I want you back. I know that's over. I need to live with myself. And right now, I can't. His voice cracked a little. It wasn't fake this time. It wasn't rehearsed. For the first time in a long time, Ethan sounded human. But here's the thing about apologies that come too late. They don't heal you. They just remind you of how deep the wound went. The conversation that changed everything. I looked at him for a long moment, tracing the face I once knew better than my own reflection. Do you even understand why it hurts so much? I asked quietly. He blinked, confused. Because I made a bad joke? Because I crossed a line? I shook my head. No, Ethan. Because you made me believe that my fear, my instincts, were the problem. You taught me to doubt myself. That's what broke me. He looked down, shame washing over his expression like a shadow. I never wanted to do that, he said. But you did, I said. And you never stopped to ask how it felt. You just kept building your own story. Where I was overreacting, where you were misunderstood. He rubbed his face with his hands like he was trying to erase the past. I know. God, I know. And I wish I could take it back. I smiled, not out of forgiveness, but clarity. You can't, but maybe that's the point. Some things aren't meant to be fixed, they're meant to teach. He nodded slowly, eyes glistening. Do you think I'm a bad person? I thought about that for a long time. No, I said finally. Just someone who refuses to look at himself until it's too late. He laughed bitterly. That sounds worse. Maybe, I said softly, but it's honest. The final goodbye, we finished our coffee in silence. The cafe had grown emptier, the sun dipping lower behind the waves. When we stood up to leave, he hesitated. You really loved me, didn't you? He asked. Yes, I said, and that's why I had to stop. He looked like he wanted to say something. Maybe please forgive me. Maybe I miss you. But he didn't. He just nodded and walked out, disappearing into the orange evening light. I sat there for a while after he left, the sound of the ocean echoing faintly through the open window, and I realized something I hadn't before. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad either. I was just done. Months later, Ethan never contacted me again. I heard from mutual friends that he moved abroad, new job, new girlfriend, new start. And as for me, I started writing again. It started small. Journal entries, short essays, little reflections about pain, love, and the ways people destroy each other without meaning to. It helped me rebuild parts of myself I thought were gone forever. One night, I got a message from an unknown number again. But this time, it wasn't Ethan. It was Tara. He told me everything, she wrote. I just wanted to say you were right about him. Thank you for getting out when you did. I didn't reply. Some ghosts don't need exercising. They just need to be left behind. The lesson looking back, I don't think Ethan was the villain of my story. He was the catalyst. The reason I finally learned that love without respect is just emotional chaos disguised as passion. Sometimes betrayal isn't sleeping with someone else or lying outright. Sometimes it's making the person you love question their own reality until they no longer recognize themselves. And maybe that's the cruelest kind of cheating there is.